Lights twinkle all around.
Thank you guys for joining us again. This is episode 40 of The Great Satan. This is our Christmas spectacular. The Ewoks are going to play a much larger narrative role. Patti LaBelle, ladies and gentlemen. So happy the background singers finally got mic'd up. Nobody in the military can do anything correctly. It's insane. Like, the band is it. Like, they've got great bands, and then the support staff for the bands is some of the most, like, incompetent, pieces of shit.
They couldn't figure out the guns, so they're like, you're on mics.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump could figure out the gun, you know? So they're like, you mic background singers and write cue cards out for Patti LaBelle.
You're going to be doing a gig one day, and the sound guy's going to be ex-military, and he's going to be all like, I'm going to do this worse than I would do this.
Yeah.
Due to my natural incompetence.
I want to say one of the best sound guys I ever had was ex-military. He was obviously, out of the military. He was very, he's pretty cool. He's a communist, good guy. But yeah, he was like really chill.
I find it a little funny that people come out of the military like hard right wing or hard left wing. There's not as many come out middle centrists being like, you know what? The way forward is compromise. Nobody comes out of the military saying the way forward is compromise.
No.
I wonder why.
Because that's not the case. You learn, you either learn to oppress people through violence, or that the only way to stop oppression against people is through violence.
Unfortunately, neither side learns the lesson that hierarchy is inherently the problem, which...
Yeah, so, well, let's say this, though. Unoppressing people through violence, like freeing people through violence, is anti-hierarchical, right?
Yes.
So, like, while we still have a hierarchical system, the only way to protect people is through
are you saying that since we live in a society, we have to, live in a society? Jeez.
No, I'm saying that you have to destroy the people at the top, or they will continue the reign of terror.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. And that we should make no apologies when it comes our turn. Right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, shoot dogs in public. I'm saying, you know what I mean? I'm saying, we aim at those good targets.
Yeah. Yeah, shoot billionaires, not dogs.
Yeah. It seems... I think most people would agree with that. But...
I think most dogs would also agree with that.
Yeah.
Billionaires, I don't think would agree with that, but they shoot dogs for fun, so fuck them.
Yeah. They do way worse stuff than that too, man.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy.
But historically, the fox hunt has been the thing that, before billionaires, the nobles were what billionaires are, and their thing for hundreds of years have been hey, let's find the cutest little thing and murder the shit out of it.
Yeah. The cutest two things, actually, because you would be very surprised. No, well, I was going to say foxes and hounds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They, just because they're worth billions of dollars doesn't make them good shots.
Oh, God.
They do nothing all day but
out the collateral. Yeah, of course. They've got blue, limbs that don't function all the way from inbreeding, and they're trying to aim up on $100,000 shotgun,
right?
That came with their Land Rover,
pulling a trigger with a flipper.
Yep. Now it all makes sense, Jason.
Yeah. So they shoot a lot of hounds and foxes too. Very sad.
That didn't even occur to me. Jesus.
Yeah, they go through a lot of them.
Oh.
This is forever ago, but I was looking into hound rescue things because when they were trying to get rid of the fox hunting, they were on the forefront of it. They were you wouldn't believe how many maimed dogs we have to give homes to. So that's the ones that survive the gunshots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just basset hounds with their ears amputated, poor babies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So it's the Christmas episode.
Yes. Yeah.
Very cute episode so
Great
far.
way to start. Merry Christmas, dead dogs.
Billionaires are murdering dogs, and it's not good. But there's good news.
Yes.
So a couple days from now will be Christmas.
Yes.
And then everybody's hearts will be filled with cheer.
Yes. Yes.
Systemically, nothing's going to be better, but we'll feel good. We'll feel good for a minute.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to feel really good. We could smoke hams. That's fun.
A smoked ham sounds quite nice.
Goose. You ever do goose?
I've done goose. Yeah.
You guys have goose in Australia?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, good. Goose is a wonderful animal. It's so fat. There's so much fat on a goose.
I actually have only ever had goose at a French restaurant.
The French do beautiful things to geese.
They do. They know how. This is a thing. The French know how to deal with bird fat. That's all. Like you roast a duck in goose fat. You roast a chicken in duck fat. It all chops and change. Yeah, but it all makes sense in your mouth.
Yep, it does. It's where French fries came from. We call it French fries because they figured out that duck fat, or goose fat or whatever, just does wonderful shit to a potato also. Yeah. And if it hadn't been for that,
no freedom fries.
Where the fuck would we be without French fries?
We'd be eating onion rings with everything, and then everyone would have just slightly worse breath.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like that's out of the multiverse of like different worlds that could be. The one where instead of French fries, we just have onion rings is probably like the most banal.
It's a small change.
Yeah.
In that change.
Of course, in that universe, I have two dongs. Just one and one, side by side.
You'd be a side-by-side? I'd be a side-by-side. I'd be an over-under for sure.
No, well, I'm non-binary, so like I don't need missionary position, and I've like scissoring like with the scissors.
Yeah.
Like that's the tool for scissoring. Like this is where lesbians, like everybody's, and lesbians especially, like we don't do that. No, you don't, because you don't have two dongs side by side.
Right. If you did, you would.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. I'm on. Well, you could you could scissor with a top and like a uppy downy.
You could. You'd be
sideways. And then you're scissoring. You know?
That's true.
That's a good point. I mean, but either way, it's good as long as they're the same. Though I wouldn't want them different. I think we talked about. This came up on another episode. We talked about two dongs. Yeah, the Roz episode talked about having two dongs. I can't remember why. I think it was about it was some kind of an engineering disaster and dick pills.
Well, I believe it is canon in Star Trek now. Klingons have two dongs.
That makes sense. Don't they fuck every like 7 years?
No, you're thinking of Vulcans. Vulcans fuck every 7 years. Klingons are used as a BDSM allegory. Like whenever anyone starts dating a Klingon, they both turn up all fucked up at the infirmary.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You didn't see that episode of Deep Space Nine?
I did not see that episode of Deep Space Nine.
They do make it very clear that everything's consensual and good, and they're happy about being in the infirmary with broken ribs, but yeah.
Ribs. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. It's true. Ribs will break so fucking easy, though. It does not take much to break a rib. It's like the weakest the weakest bone on a human body.
Just
like
poke it.
They're crazy weak.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm on board. I'll have to check that. Say that. Like, I'm going to go watch Deep Space Nine. I don't think
just to find the Klingon sex episode.
Yeah. Where's the one where Klingons fuck a person? Like
it's the one where Quark actually marries a Klingon because he accidentally murdered her husband. And so in order to like save her family house, he has to become a Klingon and appear before the High Council. And it gets like all like twisty with Klingon like family relationships. And then he actually falls for her. And at the end, he like does this full display and she's like, all right. And then it cuts to them in the infirmary. And Julie, like, everyone stop. Like, you're just hurting yourselves and hurting me.
Yeah. I'm on board with Quark getting hurt. So that's
it's actually the
also,
most.
He did a really great thing too.
Well, here's the thing about Quark though. He's held up as this capitalist, like lampooning sack of crap. But when the chips are down, he's altruistic.
He's a human being. Yeah, or he's like a being. Yeah.
He is. And so like even though he espouses this theory and goes on about the rules of acquisition, he's always willing to throw down at a moment's notice when it's needed.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Because that's the thing. One of the beautiful things about that show is anytime they do capitalist allegory, it's never an intrinsically bad thing that one person decides to do.
Yeah.
Or even if they have like brain philosophies that are fucked up.
It's not their entirety.
Yeah, it's about the like system in which they were raised in, and then the being individually is still a person, right? Yeah. It's like
which is why
that 2 days from now are going to do probably really wonderful things for society, and there will probably like give, I don't know what the fuck, soup kitchen stuff. I don't know what the like professional managerial class thinks is good mutual aid.
$600 version of they're going to give $600. That has been what has been established by the government. If you care about people, the only thing you will ever give them is $600 once.
Yeah. 720 Molotov cocktails.
You mathed it. Good math. Great theoretical math problem you solved.
If it's $15 for an 18-pack of beer, that's how much the bottles are worth.
Like, I like that you're not just buying empty bottles for like less. You're like, no, let's get drunk and make some Molotov cocktails.
I think I would need to get at least 100 people 7 beers worth of drunk to make any kind of fun with 700 Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because like one person could throw like 10 and then the cops shoot them. But like if you get 100 people, like they could probably hoik quite a few each.
Yeah.
Yeah. Theoretically.
This is in theory. I was big on not saying like in Minecraft or ironically or any of that bullshit on this podcast for a long time because it's like a thing every podcast does. They're like, in Minecraft, it's like, why? I mean, I'm making jokes. This is a comedy. This is clearly a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
But also, it is morally upright to throw Molotov cocktails at cop cars. Like, that is a thing that's a fact. So if I don't say ironically, then people will be... So it would be interesting for a court case to be like, yo, you're espousing a violent worldview, right?
You're like, all right, but...
You couldn't possibly be joking... Yeah, you couldn't possibly be joking that this is good because it definitely is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the prosecuting attorney or like whatever.
They'd have to prove that how serious we are about the double dong proposition in order to figure out if we are also being serious about the Molotov cocktail math problem.
Correct. Yeah. Apparently, yeah. So context matters in that case, but then they wouldn't have to go that far back in an audio context to say this is you espousing this very productive and constructive worldview, right?
Yeah. I also have to point out there's a big difference between saying let's do a thing and saying it would be good if someone were to do a thing. So, you know.
One's hypothetical and the other is like it's me
planning.
So then it's only bad though if I do it, right? So like even in the realist context, even when I say like it would be it would be fuck. If I said I am going to the thing, right?
To quadruple down on the hypothetical, can I ask you this? Like we know that absolutely it is immoral to yell fire in a crowded theater.
Correct.
But is it also illegal to yell Molotov cocktail at a cop car?
Yell the words Molotov cocktail?
Yeah.
would it make the cop leave the block? Then it would be good to do that. Hey, get out of here! There's a Molotov cocktail.
I think you're like legally allowed to, but also you might have your rights violated, and then you'd have to fight through the courts to have your rights upheld. So it's up to the individual.
Establish a negative. It would. Well, yeah. Then it would come down to like trusting the legal system to do the right thing.
Can't always do that.
So it would be a bad thing, I think. Maybe. I don't know. So you
call them the C word. It's fine.
You can as an Australian you can, but as a non-binary person, can you say the C? Are you okay with the C word? I don't say that. I try not to say the C word. So the C and B are like two of my big ones. I don't say. There's a bunch of them, but the C and B are big ones for me to not.
So I'm contextual about C, and with B, I still use it, but only towards masculine and male people. Like only in that context. I only ever say he's being a bitch. And like I'm aware that like that carries with it connotation that bitch is a bad thing. But also for me using it in that context for now, I'm referring to it as a subset of behaviors that I grew up with, referring to them in a certain way. And there might be room for me to improve on that front. There are words that I've cut out entirely. I don't use retarded unless I'm talking about yeast getting salt on it.
Right. Or a car battery.
Yeah.
Car battery in retard.
Yeah. Only call something spastic if it's a colon,
Oof. Or rectums can become spastic.
Right? Yeah.
So spastic's a funny one because like I haven't heard that one
not for years.
But you're ahead of the curve because I believe like as the R word becomes like a no, like a
people are gonna reach for
alternative. There's gonna be new like that happened with like queer fell out of fashion as like an insult,
and then it
like came back into fashion as a like co-option of individually,
So here's one that I grew up with. I remember in primary school people calling each other povo, which is very, very, very classist.
Whoa.
Did you grow up with that? Did you grow up with like, oh, you're povo, you're povo?
Pavo. Is that?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you have parvo or do you?
No, grew up in poverty, povo.
So it means you're broke.
Yeah, it's a shorthand for poverty. I just remembered that by talking about this. I remembered
being a slur.
Somebody pointing at me and going, "You're a povo," and I'm like, "Nah, you're a povo," and I'm like, "Oh, don't, not now." but
I love it though, because it is an Australian slang.
Very, very, very.
The first syllable and then O.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like while I don't want to be making any sort of fun of people for being for growing up in poverty, because that's a thing that's beyond a lot of people's control, I would like more insults ending in O. So like let's get on it, you dicko.
Yeah, I thought the T slur was an Australian construct because it feels kind of Australian-y, right? It's kind of like a Plenary do,
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. And then they just shortened that even more. So like, but it wasn't an Australian one. Like they do like yank tank. That would be one you do like. What rhymes with tran but is also like a word for brick? Yeah.
Actually, you just said yank.
That would be like a pretty Australian like slur for a trans person.
Probably. The yank tank thing. So one of the things that I grew up hearing Americans was seppos. Have you ever heard of that?
Does that mean
it's Cockney, so it's septic tank yank.
Oh,
and so
God.
It's seppo for septic tank yank.
So they took somebody else's already wildly
and then we took the first part and shortened it and put an O on it. So Americans to young Australians growing up in the early 90s would refer to Americans as seppos.
Yeah, I love it. That's really great. Fuck. Man, I like that. Good. Well, so yeah, so we're on the same page slurs wise. That's good to know. You have a Christmas story, and
I
while
do.
because I'm like we're almost to our halfway point.
Are
So
we? Man, I
I
always
didn't
have a
know how
great
long
time
of a
talking to you.
story it is, but I just wanted to remember that we have a story.
Yes, it's not super long, and I would like you to just interject if you have any questions.
Okay.
The story that I'm reading today is part of the Living Word. Okay,
Oh,
have you ever heard of the Living Word, Jason?
is that the Max Lucado Bible?
No, it might be. So when some Christians refer to the living word, they mean that it is imbued with the power of God inside of it, which gives it greater intrinsic meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's some Christians who believe in a thing called the verbal plenary inspiration of the Holy Spirit, which means that every single word that wound up in the King James Bible after the Council of Nicaea in 300 AD was predestined by God to be put in there, even if it has been taken out of context and used to persecute people.
Right.
So this story is a story that has been retold many times throughout history. This is my retelling of it. In that way, it is alive. And if anybody would like to retell it or share my retelling of it, go for it, because this is alive. This is something that belongs to all of us. And I've pulled themes out of it. And I just wanted to make clear before I start that I wanted to do a moral Christmas story today, because a lot of people say that we've gotten away from the meaning behind the season, the reason for the season, and all of that bullshit. But then the book that they refer to has been used to persecute people historically. So I decided that that fresh start. So here we go.
I'm on board.
There was a young woman named Mary. She was in her early 20s or something. She was not 14. She was not 13. She was definitely in her 20s or something. And she lived in the town of Nazareth in the province of Galilee. And she was really fucking cool. She was engaged to a young man who was also in his 20s and definitely not in his early 30s, late 30s, or early 40s. And his name was Seth. And he was pretty fucking cool as well. Seth.
With a TH?
No, Seth. S-E-P-H.
Okay, Seth.
Yeah. Mary and Seth.
Got it.
So
she wasn't purchased by his family or anything.
No. They were engaged because they met in high school, and they didn't actually date in high school because they both considered themselves to be too immature. But then after they'd left high school, they were still living around the same area. They bonded over a shared, enjoyment of cheeses. And then they moved away from their hometown of Bethlehem over to Nazareth in Galilee, where they were now engaged.
Nice. That's much better.
So one day, the wizard Jod was scanning the multiverse with his science magic when he picked up hella cool signals coming from Earth, specifically the region that would come to be known as the Middle East, specifically from the region of Galilee, specifically from the town of Nazareth, and specifically from Mary and Seth. So Jod sent his PA Gabby to tell Mary and Seth that Jod had searched the whole multiverse with science magic and discovered that Mary and Seth are the coolest people in the world. Jod asked Gabby to ask if sometime Mary and Seth might want to come hang out. Mary and Seth both enthusiastically accepted and were science magic teleported to Jod's fuck pad. Mary and Seth invited Gabby to join in, but because Jod was her boss, she thought that might be weird, so she took the afternoon off and went bowling. Gabby bowled a perfect game that day. Real cool. You like it?
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's all that happened, though?
Oh, no, there's more. So
okay.
Mary became pregnant.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is an important plot point. Well, it's been said that Mary's conception, by other people through history, it's been said that Mary's conception was immaculate. I need to point out that we are in a moral pickle with that assertion, because it would be incredibly immoral to lie about a magical conception, and it is a private situation between individuals. So us digging into it wouldn't really be fair to anyone. So it's only after I've received permission from Mary, Seth, and Jod that I finally feel comfortable explaining the exact nature of the conception. Okay? And I'm going to start by clearing up a misconception. Okay. So some people have said that Jod and Seth both pumped a hot load into Mary at the same time, but that's not how it happened. So Jod pumped a hot load into Seth, and then Seth pumped a double hot load into Mary, and then Magic Baby. So
I think I just realized where the misconception came from then.
Exactly.
Because, you know, Joseph, right, in the other story,
yeah,
he had his first prostate orgasm while having a vaginal intercourse, right?
Absolutely.
And was like, God made this pregnancy.
Exactly.
So now this makes perfect sense.
So Mary, Seth, and Jod became lifelong friends.
Yes.
And as Mary's due date got closer, Caesar Augustus politely asked that a census be taken of the entire Roman Empire. And since nobody had anything better to do, they all just agreed. This meant that every single person in the entire Roman Empire had to stop what they were doing and shag ass back to their hometowns to register for the census, which is a really bad way to conduct a census.
Yeah, bad.
Tragically, the wizard Jod would have to return to his home dimension since they had no hometown within the Roman Empire. And even tragiglier, Mary and Seth would have to travel back to their bullshit backwater hometown, Bethlehem, where people weren't cool and the town sucked.
Yeah.
Once they reached Bethlehem...
Like a steel town, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where
like
Black Sabbath is from.
Little bit of industry that's sort of died off in recent years. There's a Roman garrison just down the road, but they're not really supplying with anything. It's just like the people that used to be there are still there, but they got less teeth.
Yeah.
Any hometown in any Hallmark movie.
Yep.
So they head back to Bethlehem. And when Mary and Seth got to Bethlehem, they were hoping that they could crash at their friend Jeff's house, but it had burned down and Jeff was dead. So they had to go looking for a hotel. Now, unfortunately, there was no hotels, rooms, inns, or lodges anywhere that had any vacancies, even in the sketchy part, the other side of the railroad tracks, the outskirts. Nothing. Mary was beginning to go into labor, and the only hospital that was in town was out of network. So they had no choice but to go to a smelly old cave that animals pooped in and set up for the night there. As Mary grunted and pushed, surrounded by farting and shitting animals, she thought to herself, same old Bethlehem.
Yep.
And she gave birth to a baby that looked a lot like her, Seth, and Jod.
Nice.
Mary and Joe discussed baby names. What's that thing you shout out when you climax? Asked Seth. Right there, don't stop, suggested Mary. No, the other thing, prompted Seth. And so they named their baby Jesus fucking Christ. And Jesus fucking Christ was a wizard. Baby Jesus Christ the wizard was not even 1 minute old and still covered in birth goo, and he pointed at the sky with his tiny baby hand, and a flash of brilliant magical light, a new star shot into the heavens. And local shepherds nearby, seeing this, were hypnotized and abandoned their flocks and started walking towards the poop cave. At that exact moment, a spaceship with 3 alien kings in it was passing by our solar system. They saw the flash of light and decided to stop and investigate. Donning their finest alien king party robes, they each pulled a gift from the quantum gift device. The quantum gift device is an interesting piece of machinery. It creates gifts that exist in a complex superposition encompassing the entire good gift, bad gift spectrum. And when the box is opened, the waveform collapses and the hyperstate resolves and the gift appears.
Right.
So the 3 alien kings approached the newborn wizard and offered their gifts, which turned out to be gold, frankincense, and myrrh, which are 3 types of alien party drugs. And so it was that the first magic trick that Jesus fucking Christ the wizard ever pulled was throwing a dope-ass rager that came to be known as the Poop Cave Birth Rave.
Nice.
The end.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
Nothing like out of the ordinary happens to this cool wizard for the rest of his entire life. And definitely
Just chill.
Nothing that would be used to tell people that they were born in sin and die in sin.
Yeah.
And need
Yeah, not
anyway.
nothing like that.
That's cool. I like that. That story's great because it doesn't make you do moral relativism.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I
you
like
don't have
that
to
about
justify
that.
anything.
So, like,
the only thing I didn't like in it is that the hospital in Bethlehem was out of network, because that kind of implies that it's moral to have a. I need to make it clear, and I might go in and do
it
an
doesn't.
edit.
The story doesn't exist in a moral universe, but
No,
the
it is a
story
moral
itself
story
is
within.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's great because I was gonna say it presupposes that there's no such thing, or not no such thing as a fully moral universe, right? Like there is no morality under.
Well, there isn't, and that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
The universe isn't moral or immoral. The universe isn't just or unjust. We are moral or immoral. We are just or unjust.
Right.
So I just wanted to put a bit of Christmas cheer out there.
I like Christmas a bunch, like I don't think all the stuff, is, that like the reason, the reason for the season, all that stuff. Like I don't like that stuff at all, but I like the good, the cool parts, right?
Yeah,
Like the
good vibes and
Santa is, I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet lately where people are saying like Santa Claus doesn't exist. I don't cotton to that,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, he does though.
Yeah.
So I don't know what people's aim is there,
Look, I mean, it's like anything. Like, here's one for you, Jason. This is just something that I was thinking about, and I thought I'd bring it up to you, right? So I'm non-binary. That's been established. Hi, everyone. They, them. So humans exist in a bimodal spectrum of gender expression. The binary is actually a myth. It is. It's made up. Okay. Now, I'm fine there. I've figured it out. I'm like, all right, I'm an individual and I prioritize my individuality, and I've been willing to do that and all of this. But here's my question for you. Is it possible to be non-binary? In that, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm not sure that pi exists. So, like, what if circles aren't real?
Okay. Oh, the other pi.
Have you ever seen a circle?
Yes.
Bullshit. You saw like a quintecadedron, right? That was like a billion-sided.
Really fun. So the perfect circle existed before perfect squares.
That's interesting.
You
might bring me around. I might start believing in pi again.
I'm gonna blow your mind. We think of this like history of engineering as this like linear progression.
Yeah.
And when they developed the lathe, we made watches and compasses, right? Like all this stuff happened when British people made a lathe or whatever the fuck, right? But the lathe as a concept existed in almost every society throughout the world, right?
Yeah.
And almost all of them had round shit, right?
Yeah.
That really perfectly round shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because the lathe is such a beautiful tool and the circle is such a beautiful object that we were carving. And when I say we, I mean the human species, not British, French, Italian, not white people. I'm saying people, period. For more than recorded history, we're able to like take a bow, like a bow, and spin an object and then drilling perfect circles, like divots and stuff. So pi is like it can be said that it's whatever, like it's not the greatest way for everyone to understand circles.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do get it, but it also, like, the fact that there's no end to it messes with me. The fact that pi just keeps going and going, and like there is an end to it eventually, apparently, maybe.
Weirds
my brain out. But the
functionally,
fact that
so stop it where really stop whenever the fuck you want on pi. It's great.
Yeah.
I just as an experiment have started using 3-digit pi only. Like so 3.14
yeah,
sorry, 3.141
yeah,
and stop at 5. Like don't do the 5.9.
yeah.
Right? I don't need that. But if you go 3.14159, you'll almost never run into a situation where you're going to be wrong enough that your hands while you're cutting a thing like it.
Yes.
I don't want to ruin Christmas gifts for people because I've made things this year, but I used 3.141, and it was enough to get very exact measurements to make the thing like a flat 2D object cut.
Pretty much anything that you're making, like that math is going to work out. But like when you're building super intricate scientific devices that need to be even more finely tuned, that becomes more. It just weirds me out that that the numbers keep going. You know,
that is a weird concept that they go for. It just goes and goes and goes, and it doesn't need to stop. Right?
And so, like, it makes sense because the circle goes and goes and goes. Like, it doesn't need to stop.
And
right?
it's more telling.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
It keeps going forever and ever and ever because we didn't do our number. We did our numbers based on like a number. Like the way we express numbers back and forth to each other is in this like 0 to 9 thing, right? Like it's in
a base 10 based on
system. I was thinking about this a couple months ago. Was like because it hit me like this exact thing we're talking about.
Base pi.
Not base. Yeah. What if there was a base circle system, like and they discovered not a number to express it, but like that was where everything came from. Like, so what if, and I hate to use the word primitive, but like, what if math originally was discussed by the engineering community first? Like, so the building indigenous people, like, so building indigenous people rather than trading individuals.
You're probably right, because triangles work into pretty much any sort of basic construction. Like you're literally building a lean-to, which is a rectangle. You work out 4, 5, 6 for the fucking angle of the tent. So yeah. It makes sense that it would be an engineering problem before it was a hypothetical, philosophical problem.
And like, dome, like a dome for building a thing. It's like we dug out a lean-to triangle that's also a circle and then exists in 3D space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if that is where discussion, like vocabulary, like the language we use to describe numbers had come from, we would completely.
To be fair though, like
probably have an
the first dome was probably thought up by a bald guy who was like, "Hey everyone, the roof, but like just this part of my head."
Yeah.
Roof, but just
right here.
Just that part.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'd be fucking on board with that too. I think probably that's where that came from too. But no, so pi would have an ending then for people that that alternate history that goes 10,000 years of that type of number instead of 10,000 years of like 12s and 10s, right?
Yeah.
Base 12, base 10 went this way, and then there's like the only talking about shapes.
Yeah.
People
throw me an orange. How many? Triangle. Throw me a triangle orange.
Yeah.
Triangle oranges.
They're discussing like shape relations as so like so it would be like weird to even talk about like 2-dimensional numbers, shapes, all like the way that I don't know. I don't know how that would work out. I'm not a science fiction writer.
Since that exists, though, that would also mean that there's this universe where like emotional states exist as numbers. So it's like, throw me a happiness of oranges.
Yeah.
And then they throw them too many, and like, you threw me a sadness of oranges.
Or if they throw too many, it's you threw me
a tragedy.
No,
A friend, you tried to throw me a friendship and you threw me a tragedy, and now I am dead.
yeah. Damn. You could die from too many oranges. Fuck. He overdosed on the number of oranges. So then medicine would be really different.
Oh yeah.
Medicine would be way different.
Yeah.
Vomiting, we'd probably still call that vomiting. I don't know why I was thinking of vomiting. Like, what would happen if you had too much vitamin? Like vitamin C doesn't kill people.
No.
Really, it would take a heroic amount of vitamin C.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with the amount of sugar that's in an orange, like you would die from sugar before you die from vitamin C.
Correct. You would have to not synthesize, but you'd have to extract the C and then put it into a powder form. And then even then, I don't think the human stomach can hold enough that it would go into the blood fast enough to have density enough to kill you. Yeah. So if you IV drip vitamin C, is that even possible to kill you? I'm positive if I just Google that, I could probably vitamin C overdose.
So like, I wasn't picturing it as getting hit by oranges and then osmosising some vitamin C out of them from the hit. I thought he was getting crushed by oranges, just like enough to physically goosh a person. But it's fine. You know, both.
People, so you can take in up to 2,000 milligrams a day orally, no problem.
And then you get diarrhea.
And nausea. Yeah, and vomiting and heartburn and abdominal cramps. But that's mostly because it's trying not to, it's like, I doubt that's actually a vitamin C overdose. It's probably like, those are self-reported symptoms, and it's because they took it pill form.
Yeah.
And the stuff that's in the pill's really bad. Well, not really bad, but it goes, get this milk of magnesia or whatever.
I knew a guy who ate a half a bottle of vitamin C tablets one day because he thought they were candy, and then he had wicked diarrhea.
They taste great.
Yeah,
they're not really bad. Good. The chewable ones are really good.
I'll tell you something we don't have in Australia. We had chewable vitamin C's, and I'm sure we have them, but not the same as here. Tums, fruity Tums. Like I didn't have antacids until I came to America. In Australia, when you're burning, you don't eat as much grease. But in America, that's not an option. So you just shoot down some Tums and keep eating grease.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I mean, there were remedies for heartburn a long time ago, and it was stop being Italian. What they told you to do.
Right, yeah. And then one day, a farmer ran out of cows, found some magnesium, got under it, gave it some of these bad boys. Got his bucket.
Magnesium has udders hanging down instead of
magnesium has two dicks.
It came up to the magnesium, like really little magnesium.
Probably, you're right. Okay, two little dicks on the magnesium.
I'm doing it with my finger, but magnesium is so small. You know, a molecule of magnesium, and then just it would take so long to milk magnesium molecules.
All day. You'd be at it all day.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All day.
You feel bad for cow farmers. Think about the magnesium farmers. Jesus fucking Christ, the wizard.
Man. Yeah, that would be awful. I wouldn't want to do magnesium. Yeah, so magnesium is flammable. Do you know that?
Yes, yeah. We exploded it in high school. I had a high school teacher named Schmitty. He's the only high school teacher whose name I remember because he introduced it. He was older as well. That's the great thing about it. He was this older guy. He walks in tiny, you know, probably just like 5'6" maybe. And he's like, "Hi, I'm Schmitty. If other teachers are around or whatever, you can say Mr. Schmidt or just sir. But like when I'm in the class with you, just say Schmitty and I'll come help." And so the fire marshals were doing an inspection of each of the classrooms' fire extinguishers that we had to have. Yeah. And we were in chem lab, and it just so happened to be the day that we were playing with magnesium. And he just said to us, like, "Guys, you guys just like don't react to anything I do when they come into the room." And so we all just sat there silently, and the guys came in, and he just, and then boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
rained down flaming magnesium over all of our desks, and we all just sat there, and the fire marshals freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
It was great. Good old Schmitty.
Man, yeah, I like Schmitty.
Yeah, he was a legend.
Cool. He has a really big Gallagher energy. I like
Yeah, he did.
science teachers that have Gallagher energy is like a thing. Like they're the coolest science teachers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I wondered that about like they never really show they show lecturing in Breaking Bad. They show like lecturing, and like test administration, and he's got to grade the papers, right? And he's doing after school counsel, talking to people about their grades after the classes.
Yeah.
But they never show him like putting goggles on and like smashing a watermelon with a hammer.
Like walking in with a suitcase and opening it up and pulling out a jar that's full of kerosene and sticks of magnesium. And he's like, who wants to blow shit up?
We're going to be taking this lesson on the football field today, kids.
He actually let us build boats out of paper, and then we'd weigh them down with magnesium and settle them in the big tub until they'd soak up enough water for the magnesium to activate, and the boats would explode.
Love it. Oh, yeah. All right, kids. Today we're doing the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Right. Or whatever,
yeah.
Man, I would do that with paper airplanes. And then I would 9/11 them into.
Yeah, you got to be up the back of the room and land it in the water so it explodes. Yeah.
All right. Call me Professor Sully today instead of Schmitty.
Right. Nobody tell the principal we're doing this.
Yeah. Hell fucking yeah. Today was a real like laid back episode.
Yeah.
Real just conversational.
Good chat.
And we didn't have to get into anything politicsy because like nothing's happening good or bad. I mean, everything's the same shitty that it's been forever.
Exactly. Like either Trump's going to order the military into states that voted against him tomorrow, or he's not going to do that. Like,
yeah. So it's great though, because like we've gotten so used to that kind of, well, either we're dead or we're not.
Yeah. Kind
of feeling for 4 years that we're like so used to it as a society, right? Just everybody feels like that like we have stopped caring, which is pretty great. So make some soup for somebody or don't.
Yes.
If you get the $600 and you're within the sound of my voice and you don't need it, every $10 you donate to a prison labor strike fund is a full week of 40 hours of their salary into a canteen. So that's how cheap slave labor is in America. They don't call it slave labor for nothing.
Yeah.
That's what you get paid is $10 a week. So if you want to give a little money to a canteen fund for prison labor strikers, that's the most, in my opinion, hours for money that you can help a human being feel really good.
Straight up.
That's where to throw that money. If you want to, you can Venmo it to me and I'll do that, or I'll buy a beer with it. I don't know. I'm making no promises about how much money you give me, so whatever. Throw me money if you want to. Also, the Automotive Free Clinic in Montgomery, Alabama, we are opening new chapters this year. You can find them on the Facebook and donate to them. They're really good. They gave a guy a Cadillac last week, which happened a lot sooner than anybody involved with that program thought.
Nice.
That we would be able to do something that cool.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly cool thing to be able to go, here are the keys to a functioning Cadillac with under 100,000 miles on it.
Nice.
So very fucking cool. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody within the sound of my voice. We'll take a couple days off for Christmas where we are not attempting actively to overthrow the American government. Because I don't know, does the military take the day off too?
So I believe they used to. Like, if we were ever at war, they just take Christmas morning off and go and open up gifts with the enemy on the battlefield and be all like, I know that you're trying to wipe out our people, but like it's Christmas morning, so like here have a biscuit, and they open up biscuits and play cricket on the beach and all of that business. And that actually happened during World War One in Gallipoli, the Australian troops and the Turks, because our countries weren't at war with each other. We were both just allied with shitty nations that were at war with each other.
Yeah.
So like we killed 100,000 of each other's troops for no reason, and then had a Christmas together.
That's a cool story about how fucked war is. Where you can just turn it on and off like a switch.
Straight up.
The most brutal fucking thing. 100,000 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
A quarter of the population of.
And they were able to just take a day off to hang out. Like, that's fucked.
Yeah. That is really crazy.
I believe it was 60,000 Australian troops and over 100,000 Turks is how it actually shook out. Yeah. And it was mostly because the Brits put us in at the wrong spot. They landed and was like, yeah, just go this way for 9 months. We'll just keep dropping you on this beach to die.
Wow.
Yeah.
That rocks.
Yeah. Don't do war. Hey, anyone within the reach of my voice, if you're ever thinking about ever doing a war, don't, and fuck you. Like if the thought occurs like war, fuck you and don't.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. I'm Nick Morganmore. Look me up on social media. It's all Nick Morganmore. That's my name. I'm me.
We're going to leave you with Patti LaBelle experiencing the incompetence of the American military in a much less deadly way than those Turks and Australians.
I think she's ready to go to war. I think.
Who the fuck are my background singers?
Yeah.
Every year I watch it because goddamn, she's so nice and kind to them. And she's like, the next card. Come on. What's the next word I'm singing?
I am throwing my back out carrying y'all.
Yeah. It's so good. And it would be awful if the band wasn't tight. Like if the band wasn't good, right? Also. Like luckily the American military hires the best musicians. Some of the best musicians in the world play for them, the American military. But they do not hire anyone that knows how to hook up XLR cables to microphones or write lyrics on big cards. SNL gets all of those people that write the...
That's true. They do. Yeah. Lorne Michaels, he actually has he goes around to all the hospitals and he shakes the babies to see like who's got the best hearing. And he's like, you're going to be an audio engineer. You're going to be an audio engineer. So.
Got him. Boom. Great Satan, episode 40. Lordy. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Everybody. I accidentally used up my what's the thing where you take the candy out of the thing for Christmas?
Advent calendar.
I used mine up on 9/11. It had little white chocolate people, and I would dump them out of the tower.
No.
I would just like reach in and then
just,
throw it on.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was pretty great. So,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays.
I'm sorry to sully the good name of 9/11. Why isn't this letting me stop the recording? Okay, there we go. All right. Now we're going to be done. And 3, 2, 1. Bye, everybody.